Guys, it's Maymay and welcome to another wreath video. Today we'll be using some paper mesh. I'm going to use some burlap colored paper mesh and some red and burlap that I picked up at Walmart for $2. I couldn't believe they had this that cheap. Regular $3.47, and this one is one I had in my stash, so I'm just combining the red and burlap plaid with the burlap color. I'm going to use a 12-inch wreath form. This is a work wreath, but we're going to put our own pencils on it. You know, if you bought a pencil wreath, you'd have those little pieces already sticking out. We're going to do that ourselves. We're going to use some ribbons. Here's a couple of them. Aren't they cute? They probably got glare on them, but they're super cute little burlap ribbons, also from Walmart. I'm going to use this guy as my focal point. I think he is so cute. This Patriotic hat, which goes with the hat that I made earlier, so that'll be cute for my decor. Got it at Walmart as well. I'm going to use maybe these. Now these I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I just kind of like something in the wreath that's not traditional wreath shape or traditional something you'd put in a wreath. So we're going to try these. This is little heart. This says USA. We'll see if we use those or not once we get going. You're going to need some chenille stems, which we're going to start working with in just a second, and then I've got some extra wire just in case I need it to wire those pieces in. Now, I'm really super excited to tell you this. I got a rotary cutter. Check this out. I found this at Joann's. I think it was Joann's, and they had their Fiskars products on sale, and I'm really excited to have this guy. Now, if you don't have a rotary cutter, a pair of scissors will work just fine, or you can even use your rotary cutter paper trimmer, which I've done a million times. So, let's see. Let's put the pencil wreath part on first. Here's how you do it. I cut my chenille stems in half, okay? Normally I don't, but I find that I have to tuck a lot of the ends in once I finish, and I didn't want to do that, so I cut these in half, and I'm just going to, you can see I'm reusing a wreath that I've used before because I have little chenille stem pieces on there. I'm going to stick this guy in, and I'm just going to twist him on nice and tight. So he will be shorter than I'm used to, but I think I'm going to like that better. I think I'm going to like not having to hide the extra chenille stems as much as I normally do. Now then, I'm going to go around and add these probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 on each one of these little sections of the work wreath. So I'm just kind of spacing them out. They will not stay in place really well until we get the mesh on there anyway. So I'm just going to get them kind of in place. I'll do this section with you, and then I'm going to do the other sections and not make you have to watch me do the same thing over and over again. So this is the last one in this section. Now, if you don't want to put this many on to start, you can always put on fewer and then add them as you go. But in my experience in the past, I always end up adding at least 1 or 2. So I just went ahead and did that this time. Because normally I do 3, just 1, 2, and 3. But I went ahead and did 6 this time. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to do 6 of these in every single one of these, and then we'll get right back together. Okay, so you can see I got all the little chenille stems on, or pipe cleaners, or what have you. Now, if you do 6 in each one of these sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, lost count, 3, 4, 5, that'll be 30 chenille stems. So if you're cutting them in half like me, you'll only need 15 of the regular size, and then you'll need 30 when you cut them in half. Or if you want to use the longer ones, just use 30 chenille stems. Now, to save yourself some time, you can just buy a wreath that already has these little pieces on it, and you don't have to do it. But I'm a little cheap, and I try to reuse what I got. So the wreath is ready. Let's get our burlap, our paper mesh, which is not burlap. Get our paper mesh ready. So I've chosen to use this 10-inch paper mesh, and I'm going to do this not looping it. I love the look of a looped paper mesh or a looped geomesh wreath, but I find this style that I'm fixing to show you much easier, and you get a really big pow at the end of it. So here's what we're going to do. Now we're going to cut these down into 10-inch pieces. Now what I've done, I'm going to see if I can show you what I did here. I laid these on top of each other and rolled them out together. So I'll be cutting them at the same time instead of cutting one roll and coming back and cutting another. Now I'm making a fairly small wreath because, like I told you, I'm just using a 12-inch wreath form, so it's not going to be real big. But I'm still going to cut these at the 10-inch square, and I'm probably going to cut, I may go ahead and cut all of this roll just so I have enough, because I pretty much make this style all the time, and I can reuse any leftover scraps. So now I'm going to find the 10-inch mark, which is going to be here, and I'm just going to push down and cut through with my rotary cutter, and look how easy that makes it. I'm glad I got one of these guys. I've wanted one for a long time, and so when we found it, we jumped on it because the price was too good to beat. This one cuts really well too. I say that as I can't get that end cut. So now I'm just going to go through and cut all of these off at 10 inches. Cut the pieces down. They're 10 inch by 10 inch square, and this is 10 inch by 10 inch square. Now what we're going to do is get these ready to go onto our wreath form. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to show you here what I'm going to do. This is basically a ruffle wreath. I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to turn it over where it won't cover my hands up for you. Okay, I'm going to start in the center here, and I'm going to ruffle all the way down. Now here's what's important. You want to make sure your selvage edge is on the outside and you're ruffling from the raw edge, okay? That'll keep these together better. So we're just going to ruffle up the middle. We're going to basically make like a bow tie. See that? Super easy. Then this guy is going to go into a twist. Any old twist. Just going to get him started. Now I'm going to twist this really tight because I want to use what length I've got. And remember, I went kind of short on my twists, okay? So I'm going to go around and put in one of each color. We're going to alternate the colors, and I'll show you what I mean. So I did the burlap. Now I'm going to do the plaid. And I'm just going to ruffle it up the middle. This is the easiest wreath, in my opinion, to do. Because you're just ruffling and twisting. And something I want to tell you. Trust me. This style of wreath looks bad before it looks better. You got to trust me. When it gets full, it will look really good. But as you're going, you're going to think, this is not working. And I promise it's working. Let's do another one. So this time I'm going to go to the burlap color and just ruffle and find a twist and put it in. And I'm kind of doing the outside twist first. It doesn't really matter. You might want to do just the outside and then come back into the inside, but I can just get to them better. So I've got that one in. All right, I'm going to keep going all the way around. We'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like when they're all in there. So this is what the outside of the wreath form looks like, wrapped with one piece of our mesh in there. I have not done the center yet. I just wanted to show you this because, like I've said before, these wreaths look really bad before they look really good. The other thing I want to tell you is this. As I was doing this, if this is your first time to make one of these wreaths, go ahead and use a full chenille stem. Don't cut it in half like I did. I've done these before, so I'm kind of used to messing with the chenille, but if you are the first timer to this, you want to make sure you have enough of this to work with easily. So if this is your first time, use a whole chenille stem or buy a work wreath with the longer pieces in it. So this is round one. I'm going to go through and do the center, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Another thing I want to tell you is this. Don't be afraid to handle this product. You're going to have some frays and some pieces that come loose like these. It's no big deal. We'll trim those later. Don't be afraid. Don't think that you can't turn it around or twist it like you need to. Just, don't beat it up. But when you have to get in here to get to it, it doesn't matter. Just move it around and do what you have to do to get to it. To show you what I mean by don't be afraid to get in there. If you have to move it around to get to your twist, this is the last one I've got to do. So I really have to kind of get my hands in there and just do it. It's not going to hurt it. You'll be fine. Just get it in there. Now I want to show you this. See how messy we are? It's all right. Just go back, do a little bit of fluffing. You really won't have to do much because this ruffled style wreath really turns out pretty on its own. It's pretty amazing how you think, ugh, that looks bad. But trust me, we're fixing to put all the pretties on and it'll change. Now, one thing I want to tell you is this. I only used one mesh square in each twist, and I do not need to go back and put any more in. So I used less than 2 whole rolls, so I have a little bit left over. Not enough to do another wreath. It still would take, the 2 whole rolls. But now I'm going to put the pretties on it, and I won't have to add any more squares of our mesh. So let's get the ribbon ready to go. Now this is one of the first burlap ribbons I'm going to use. This is actually burlap ribbon, and what I'm going to do is cut some strips of it. I'm not going to cut it quite 10 inches. I like it to be a little bit shorter than what I cut my squares at because I want it to stand up good. So I'm going to cut these about 9.5 inches, and I'm just going to use my rotary cutter and see how it does. The rotary cutter does pretty good on this, but I'm probably just going to use my scissors because I noticed there's a little bit of wire in there, and I don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to cut several of these 9.5 inch pieces. I'm going to cut 10 of each of these patterns of ribbon because I have the one that's the stars and the one that's the polka dots. And I'm going to cut them to 9.5 inches, so I'll have 20 pieces of ribbon. So that's what I'm going to do to get started. Now I decided to add this ribbon, which is some I had in my stash, and I did this because I noticed that I have the stars and the polka dots but no stripes, and I think this will really help. So I'm going to cut this down to 9 inches as well, 9.5 inches, and I'm probably going to cut the same amount. So now I have all of these cut out, and now I want to go ahead before I do anything else with them and dovetail every one of them. Now the way to dovetail, I want to move some out of the way and just show you using one ribbon. I think it'll be easier. I'm going to do this to every single ribbon. I'm going to fold it in half, matching the ends. Okay. Then I'm going to fold this in half again, bringing the selvage edge together. Now to dovetail, I'm going to cut from the fold to the edge on an angle. You pick your angle, ever how deep you'd like that to be, and cut. It's going to take some firm scissors for all this burlap, but when I do that, you can see I cut away this little diamond shape, and I end up with a nice dovetail on both sides. So when I put this into my wreath, those little points will stick up. So I'm going to do that to all of the ribbon. Let's do this one together. Fold it in half, fold those points together, cut from the fold to the edge. That one was easier. And you get a nice dovetail. And this will give you the, I don't know, I think it gives it like a fireworks feel to have those little points because it'll make it very patriotic looking. So do all of your ribbons that way and we'll get right back together. Okay, so now we have all of our ribbons cut and dovetailed and ready to go, and it's time to put them into the wreath. Let me bring the wreath back over. So you can't see the whole wreath in the frame of the video, but I'm going to work this way and kind of show you what we're doing. So I'm going to start over here, just move it where I can get to it. Now inside of these pieces of mesh, we have these little pieces of chenille stem left, and that's where our ribbons are going to go. So I'm going to pinch I've laid these on top of each other at a slight angle just to give them a little more movement. I'm going to pinch them together in the middle, like so, and then I'm just going to put it inside that twist and tighten it down. Just twist that chenille stem on it. Now, like I said, if this is your first time making one of these wreaths, don't skimp on your chenille stem. Use a whole one. Then you can just hide it in there, but I'm using halves because I don't want to hide them. And I've made a few of these so I can get around it. All right, don't worry about how this looks because as we add more, it's going to look better and better. This is that wreath that doesn't look good until it is done. Now I found this one on the inside here. I'm going to go ahead and do that one as well. This time I'm going to use a star in the stripe. I'm going to pinch that in the middle. And then push this down into the twist. And cinch it in. One thing too, the tighter you cinch that twist, the better. You get more body out of these ribbons when you cinch that really snug. Aren't those cute in there? I think they're cute. All right, let's keep going. Let's do this one here. One thing I'm going to remember is I'm going to be placing this hat in the center of my wreath. So I want to make sure that the pieces I'm adding are more to the outside and not where they'll be covered up by this hat. So I'm kind of going to work my way around the edges and not worry about turning it in too awful much. Okay, so this is the wreath with all the ribbons added to the twist. Now let me tell you what I did. I ended up using all of the pieces I cut except this one, and I even cut 10 more of the stripes because I decided that I needed a stripe with every piece of ribbon I put in. So every place there's a piece of the burlap ribbon, there's also a stripe, and I love the polka dots and the stripes and the stars and the stripes together. Now it's time to put our Uncle Sam hat on. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of push these things outward just because I want to get more bang for our buck. You know, we want to push those to where we get all the little frilly pieces out. And here's the part you'll clean up. You'll just kind of do this number and grab those pieces off, and they will eventually stop coming. As long as you see how that just cleaned up. Now this guy I'm just going to wire right onto the wreath just like this, and that's what I used. I brought that silver wire up for, this guy right here. So we're going to get us some pieces off. Pretty long pieces too, because I want to be able to stick this through, flip this guy over, and wire it down. So here's my piece of wire. It's pretty long. I'm going to fold it in half and just make like a C, or a, what would that be? Like a U shaping like this. I'm going to stick it through pretty much anywhere in this little old Uncle Sam hat. And I'll show you. We're going to kind of, I guess it'll be kind of like sewing it to the wreath, but you really won't see it because it'll hide in all of that shininess. Then I'm going to stick it through the wreath and out the back. And once you find a good feeding spot, reach back under there and grab your wire. And now you can tell I've got it underneath. See how I've gotten a hold of it, and I can pull and make this as snug as I want it. Now I'm going to flip this over, and our wire is coming through, and we're just going to twist it into place. More wire than I needed, but I tend to do that because that way I know I've got enough, and I can always take this and just tuck it in. Nobody's going to see the back. Let's flip it back over. Now I need to do the top here. Ow. Poke myself. Ow. I'm going to do the same thing at the top. Get myself a piece of wire. Make that little U shaping. Going to feed it through the hat. And then through the wreath. There's one of my pieces and the other. So we're through. I may have pulled that too tight, so I'm going to look real quick. It's a little bit snug. It's kind of putting an indentation in the hat. So I'm going to loosen that a little bit. Just twist it and tuck it. Doesn't have to be pretty. Okay. So there is that. Now that I've got this guy down, I've got these little hearts. I took them off the stick that they came on from the Dollar Tree, and I don't think that ribbon matches real well. I'm already pushing it to do this metallic with this burlap, but I like that. I'm going to take these little hearts and just kind of tuck them in and hot glue them just to give a little bit of a shape in there. So I've got my glue gun all ready. Put some glue on that dude. Stick him in there. That'll give us a little bit of dimension peeking out. So I got that one there. I'm going to bring this one to this side. I think it'll be cute right here because it needs something right there. So just like that. Take the glue gun, put some glue on the back side. I'm just going to stick that in and let that catch. Now you don't have to use a glue gun. You could just wire these in, because if you wanted to take it apart and use it in a different way another time, you could do that. I don't mind using the glue gun. Typically with this paper mesh, I'm only going to get one good season out of it anyway because it's paper. Now I'm going to do the same thing with these little USA guys, and I'm just tearing them off the stick like that. And I think this will be cute. Let me turn it where you can see this. This might be cute right here. Yeah, that's kind of cute. So I'm going to load it up with some hot glue. So after I completed putting those little pieces in that I talked about that I hot glued in, I decided it needed a little something else. So I did these little loops. Let me show you what I did. I cut off a piece of the ribbon and I folded it down just to make a loop and a tail. See that? Then I just pinched it together like this, and I added a piece of wire to it. And I just twisted that around. Now you can do this with a chenille stem too, but I've already cut mine. They're too short. So then you just find a place where you need a little loop. And I'm going to put it right here so you can see it good. And I'm just going to stick these wires through and pull them out the back like we did everything else. And just twist it to the wreath form. I forgot to dovetail this one, so I'm going to do it real quick. Now you can still add things to your wreath even after you've got it to this point. So if you make it and you see that there's some things you still need, just don't be afraid to just add stuff. So then I've just added some of these loops all the way around, and I feel better. I feel like it gets me some more color in there, and it fills it up a little bit. I know it's really hard for you guys to see on camera, but when I hang it on the door and show you some pictures, I'll make sure you can see all of it really well. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. Now, I've made many wreaths on this channel, and I will put a playlist link below so you can see all the wreaths that I have. And I look forward to hearing from you when you make your own. Check us out on Facebook at Maymay Made It, and so did I, so you can show me how you make your wreaths. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.